News Radio 66 and 101.9 FM. WFAN. Mike and the Mad Dog.
All right, Mike and the Mad Dog here at the All-Star Game. We stayed on late so that we could spend a couple of minutes with the commissioner. He should be with us in a minute here. As a matter of fact, here he is now. So,
very nice of him to do that for us today. I mean,
Commissioner's
he's
got a
rough
little
schedule, and he's going to pop in and say hello.
He's got a little press conference at 7, so we can spend a couple of minutes with him, so we can sit him down right here.
Commish, great to see you. We'll get that headset out.
Commish, good to see you. Here you go.
You're ripping me on the air, so I'm here to
But say that. That's funny.
What did we do?
I said I had to show up here at least for a little while because I don't want you guys ripping me in the air. I got to be here to defend
Yeah,
myself.
we would have probably.
Oh,
We
well,
definitely
well,
would. But we stayed late for you, and we wouldn't have stayed late for many people. We did stay late for you.
You've been always good to us. We appreciate that.
And I'm happy to be here. And
Our
to
pleasure.
see both of you.
Thank you.
Great night. Really, this was exciting.
Let's do that first. Sounds like that you wanted to basically reward George. This is very important. Everybody's so wrapped up last year at Yankee Stadium. You're wrapped up in the Steinbrenner scenario. Give him a chance to have an all-star
Well,
game.
obviously the legacy of the stadium and everything influenced me. But in the end, that played a great role. But in the end, I think the role that George has played, and George and I been together now 35, 36 years, as we discussed this afternoon through. It's interesting. It's an interesting relationship because we rarely agree on anything, but it never affected our friendship in every way, shape, form, or manner. So for me, this is a tribute to the stadium, but it's also a tribute to George Steinbrenner.
Who has stayed in the background, partially, I'm sure, because he hasn't felt that well at times, but he has really stayed in the background, hasn't stepped forward for a lot of accolades as this has all come to pass in the last couple of years.
You're absolutely correct. That is true. He really has. I talked to him from time to time, and I saw him today. We had a nice, friendly little meeting, and just talked about all the old times and things that we went through together. But he has stayed in the background, but this is a big night for him, and I don't think he'd mind me saying, when I saw him, he thanked me for all this. But it's the other way around. It's my thank you to George, my thank you to the Yankees, and let's face it. Whatever way you evaluate things, this is the most famous cathedral in the world, not in America. You think back, we were talking in the car on the way out here, the great Army Notre Dame games. You guys are too young to remember those in the 40s.
46, great game.
But that's right. But and the prize fights that happened here, and the pro football, the most famous pro football game, the game that probably made the National Football League. My Packers came here, I remember, won the World Championship here in 62.
Cold day, 62.
Cold day.
Were you at that game, Bud?
I was not at that game, but watching it on television, watching Jim Taylor run wild, as I remember. But the fact of the matter is, and then you get into all the baseball stuff, and the history here is just legendary. When I walk between the clubhouses downstairs, I'll have to tell you a funny story. And I brought my team here, and we developed a great rivalry.
81, you lost a tough series.
Ooh, I'm still mad. Money hit a ball that Pranella caught at the wall, and I've been grousing about it for the last 27 years. But anyway, I'd get so nervous in the ninth innings, I'd come down, and I'd pace in the long hallway. And I could tell by the crowd, if it was quiet, I knew Fingers or our relief pitchers were getting them out. If there was a lot of noise, I knew we were in trouble. And I'd pace back and forth. And when I did it yesterday, it brought back a lot of memories. So I'll tell you a quick George Steinbrenner story. In 81, they come to Milwaukee and they shock us by winning the first two games because we really thought we were a better club. Now we come here and we shock them and win the next two games. Finger saves two games. And I stayed in our clubhouse with Harry Dalton, our general manager, and George Bamberger, and then Buck Rogers were there. We sat and talked, and an hour and a half after the game, my family had left because they were, I think, tired of my temper tantrums at that time. And we were going to go to dinner that night and did. My mother was here with us. And I wait at the elevator. Now, there's no one left down there. And the door opens, there's George. So it's just me and George. And he looks at me and he said, well, buddy, tomorrow the better club will win. But we had the nicest talk for 10 minutes, gave each other a hug, and that was it. That's how the day ended.
So Game 7 had a ball you there the next year with Milwaukee, a chance to win a World Championship in St. Louis. That game probably still stinks, huh?
Well, we didn't have Fingers. Fingers got hurt in Labor Day of '82, and I think even the Cardinal people would say we may have won that World Series in 5 games, but you're right. It still grates on me, and every time Robin Yount and Paul Molitor and I and Cecil Cooper talk about it, we start talking about Game 7. But we didn't have Fingers, and so we lost a couple games we don't believe we'd lost. But again, not that I'm a poor loser, but I'm still moaning and bitching about what happened 28 years ago.
A competitor.
You're a good competitor.
We're here with the Commissioner, Mike&The Mad Dog, still on Yes, too, so we thank him for being with us, too. It seems this year the Yankee Stadium venue meant a lot to the players, which I'm sure you liked, that guys were actually trying to get themselves into the All-Star game, which is a very different thing that's been going on in recent years. Everyone wanted to be a part of this game.
Right. When you think people can talk about this time it counts, and, some people don't like it, and that's fine. They'll get over it eventually. But the fact of the matter is you don't hear any grumbling anymore from players. Everybody came this year. Nobody declined. Manager, coaches, everyone. And part of it, you're right, is Yankee Stadium. And part of it is we haven't had trouble for the last 3 or 4 years because there is something to it. And I think you both would admit this is the sport's best all-star game.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that.
And this game really means something. And so, yes, Yankee Stadium contributed to it. I was fascinated last night during Josh Hamilton's incredible performance. You look down, players on both teams are all just sitting there watching.
Well, he was hitting some long balls. He really was. I mean, those were remarkable shots.
Wow.
He was
I thought one of them actually did go out of the ballpark, but I guess it didn't. But it sure looked like it did anyway.
How about the 49 Hall of Famers here today, the living Hall of Famers? I didn't see this, the Corvette down, the ride down 6th Avenue. I guess Aaron's here. He's your old buddy. Mays is here.
Saw him yesterday. Saw Mays yesterday. I saw a lot of them yesterday.
Give me a story about the 49 All-Stars here in the last couple of days we haven't had a chance to talk about yet.
Well, this is the largest gathering of Hall of Famers outside of Cooperstown. I mean, it's really a wonderful story, and some of them are really tough to get, and I was of age or desire, but they came really willingly, and I'm really.
You didn't have to pay them, did you? You just told them.
Oh, they're really happy to be here. I must say, and they've received royal treatment as well. They should, but everybody wanted in on this. There is something really special about this.
Much Yankee Stadium, Commissioner.
It's the last one. They're not going to get to do it again.
That's
they can
right.
say they played in this field, which, as you said, is that famous venue. And the new stadium is still a new stadium. This is going to close. So I think if you were a star player, you'd like to say you played here. Absolutely
right. There's no question. I noticed Ben Sheets, a Milwaukee pitcher, said he'd never been to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Imagine he's going to be a starter now. And Mark Antonazzi, the owner, told me when he talked to Ben yesterday, he's just overwhelmed. Imagine I'm starting in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, we had him on. He kind of said the same thing. What is there one issue right now? We had Dupay on yesterday, so we sort of did the ins and outs, and and he sort of speaks for you. So let's do the one issue. What's the one issue right now? As you're a commissioner, that you're a little concerned? It's got to be something that you're a little. Is it the Dominican Republic thing? What's the one issue right now that you're a little concerned about?
Well, fortunately, what I would tell both of you is that given what's happened in the past 10, 12 years, I mean, there would have been major issues. Yes, there are always going to be little issues. Dominican Republic, we're investigating, and we have our investigative unit down there, and I feel very good about where we are on that issue. But look, I'm always concerned. You know what my number one concern is? We're doing so well, headed for another attendance record, 80+ million, which nobody ever can dream. I'm only worried that something's going to come that gets in the way. Things are so good. My job now is to make sure we stay on that course and nothing gets us off.
Will you put instant replay in for the postseason this year or before that?
Haven't made a decision yet, but it is possible. I wouldn't tell you no.
And would it have to be in by a certain date this season so you can?
No, we're doing a lot of evaluating. I want to make sure when we do it, you guys know how I feel about it. I'm not a big fan of it, but in the most limited sense. So if we do it, and I want to underscore the if, I want to make sure that we've ironed out all the bugs and that it works. Because if we do, look, I've talked to some umpires, and they make a valid point. If you're standing at second base and a guy hits a shot to left center or right center, that's another 300 or 350 feet away, and you're running out there, and given the new ballparks, which are tough to read, to understand, you really need to evaluate.
So the umpires are okay with it then?
They are fine.
They're okay with it.
They really are. Yes, they are.
Well, I mean, if it works, why not? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. The best system I've seen by far on a limited basis is the one I watched, and I don't watch much tennis. Dog does. Their system is unbelievable, but it's a very defined small court, so it's easy to do. I don't know if you could do that on a football field or do it anywhere as far as fair or foul or down the foul lines, but their system is remarkable.
Yeah, there's no question. But we will have this beautifully ironed out, and as I've said, and I've said this to myself over and over, if it makes the game better in that regard, the thing that always worries me is that there'd be a call in the American League or National League Championship Series or in the World Series where a club could really say that cost me the pennant or cost us the World Championship. So if we can get it right and it works, and I hope that it will, why not?
And the umpires are okay with it?
Yes.
Okay.
How about the Cubs? We have this sneaky suspicion that the last guy baseball wants in the mix is Cuban. He's loud, he says a lot, and he spends money. So we get the idea that that's the last guy that you'd be interested in. I know that's a big team. You're good with these owners figuring out who's going to own teams. Where do we stand with the Cubs sale right now?
Well, where we stand, and the process has been much slower, but in fairness, it's in the Cubs' court right now. I thought it might happen a year ago, 6 months ago, but it's moving now. The bids come in the next week or so. There's 7 or 8 groups bidding.
Cuban's one of them, right?
And that's fine. Cuban's one of them, and they will then probably submit a second round of bids, and then they bring someone to us. They bring someone to me, and I take it on to the owners. So they'll have to pick something else. So the ball really is in their court.
But you can, even if it's the highest bid, you have the right to veto, correct? Before you go to the owners, can you veto yourself singly?
No, I wouldn't do that. I'd have the owners do it. I may make a recommendation to them, but I will certainly let them do it.
You signed a contract extension. You told us a couple of times here that, you know what, I can't see myself doing this forever. And you signed, was it 2012?
Yeah.
You signed a contract extension. That's 4 more years, 3 more years of this.
You must be liking it.
Yeah, but how come?
Well, you can question my sanity, and that would be fair. I mean, I won't. When I called my wife to tell her how courageous it was, I didn't even bother to tell her because I knew I'd get that. And I called her about a half hour before the owners were to vote, knowing what the vote was going to be. And I said, look, I haven't told you this, but I might as well tell you, you may be surprised, but I'm going to do this for 4 more years. And all she said is, oh, what a big shock. And that was the end of the conversation.
Knows you better than you do.
That's
right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So there's things to be done yet. And frankly, I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of the great progress we've made. I mean, just being here the last 2 days has been unbelievable. And so I want to finish the job I started.
Tampa, Florida, those 2 cities, do they have to have these new ballparks to survive?
I can't make it down there. They absolutely can't make it without. Florida, we're getting very close. We have a deal. If we can get rid of litigation, we'll be done.
One guy, Bremen, the old
Norman
Eagle
Bremen,
guy.
the old Eagles owner, is suing, but they're working on things right now. And Tampa is making some very genuine progress.
He's a good owner, that guy.
Well, he's done a great job.
Yeah, he's a bright kid.
Been a remarkable
bright
story.
Young guy, yeah.
It's been a remarkable story.
And is Mr. Steinbrenner going to throw out the first ball tonight?
I don't know that. No.
Did you ask him to?
Would I? No. I'm gonna let the first ball ceremony, which will come shortly, let you do it. I know there will be some Yankees involved in the first.
No,
ball.
I'm sure Yogi and I see Yogi and Whitey.
Whitey and Yogi, figure it out.
You can figure that
That's
out
it.
pretty quick.
We know you have to run. Thanks for a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Bud
Commissioner,
Selig.
thank
Great
you.
to have him with us.